UFC 248 took place on March 7th in Paradise, Nevada, where we saw Israel Adesanya successfully make his first UFC Middleweight title defense, defeating Yoel Romero by a unanimous decision. In the co-main event, we saw an epic war between the current UFC Women's Strawweight champion Zhang VS Li versus Joanna and Jedrzejczyk, where they put on a show for the fans. The main card featured top UFC talent, where they all delivered dominant performances. Overall, the whole card delivered a fantastic show, where right now it's time to determine where these fighters will go on from their victories and losses. There are certain matchups that make the most sense, which will help the winners and losers of this card progress in the rankings. So for this video, I will be talking about the 10 fights to make after UFC 248, Adesanya vs Romero. Israel Adesanya vs Yoel Romero. In the main event at UFC 248, Israel Adesanya defeated Yoel Romero by a unanimous decision to retain his UFC Middleweight title. In the fight, both fighters came in the middle and were very hesitant to engage. Both fighters waited on each other to engage, but there was very little action over the rounds. Even referee Dan Mergliata urged them to engage, but both fighters remained very patient and they were just waiting for the other to engage first. After a very slow-paced fight, the unanimous decision was given to Israel Adesanya. Here are some reactions from the MMA community. Just engaged, he said, I had it 4-1 for Yoel Romero. Rafael Dos Anjos said, not even Adesanya believe he won. I had Romero all the way. Dean Thomas said, fear is a big motivator. Sometimes it motivates you to do nothing. Francis Ngannou said, and still. Ben Askren said, just terrible. At least we had Weili versus JJ. Aljamain Sterling said, I love Izzy. But in my honest opinion, Romero won that due to extreme inactivity on both parties, but Romero doing slightly more. And Dominic Cruz said, Adesanya fought like a champion exactly the way he had to. You have to decisively beat the champ. Counter fighter versus counter fighter is the toughest chess match in my opinion. Respect to both. I love watching the highest level of MMA. Hashtag UFC 248. The fight that makes the most sense for Israel Adesanya is to face the number 2 ranked middleweight contender Paulo Costa next. Paulo Costa has kept his undefeated record intact with the ferocious pace he brings inside the octagon. The pressure he puts on his opponents is insane, where his volume striking has given his opponents no space to do anything. He has been able to rack up 5 impressive victories in the UFC and last defeated Yoel Romero by unanimous decision. He has some personal issues with Israel Adesanya, and this fight will be great for Israel Adesanya to make his second title defense. Another possible option for Israel Adesanya could be to face the number 4th ranked middleweight contender Jared Cannonier next. Jared Cannonier has looked like an unstoppable force since moving down from the light heavyweight division, where his opponents have surrendered themselves to the power he brings in his fights. He has kept his power since moving down from the heavyweight division, where all it takes is one shot from Jared Cannonier to change the circumstance of the fight. He has racked up 3 very impressive finishes under his belt and last defeated Jack Hermansson by TKO. He is a great option if Paulo Costa is unavailable. With Yoel Romero losing to Israel Adesanya, the fight that makes the most sense for him is to face Jack Hermansson if he is able to get past Chris Weidman at UFC Final 174. Jack Hermansson rose up the middleweight rankings quite drastically, where he used all his well-rounded skills to dominate some of the well-known names in MMA. He was quickly able to submit David Branch by a guillotine choke at UFC on ESPN2 and next dominated Jacare Souza at UFC Final 150. Unfortunately, his winning streak would come to an end, where in his last fight he would lose to Jared Cannonier by TKO. Jack Hermansson is a world-class middleweight and can give any middleweight trouble at any given day. If Jack Hermansson can get past Chris Weidman, he is a great option for Yoel Romero, where it will be interesting to see who comes out on top. Another option for Yoel Romero could be to face Kelvin Gastelum next. Kelvin Gastelum made his mark in the middleweight division, defeated some of the best fighters in the world. He was able to KO former UFC middleweight champion Michael Bisping at UFC Final 122 and also pulled off a split decision victory over Jacare Souza at UFC 224. He was involved in an absolute war with Israel Adesanya at UFC 236, where he would come up short, losing by a unanimous decision. He would lose his last fight by a split decision to Darren Till at UFC 244. Both fighters are coming off 2 losses, and this is a fresh matchup in the middleweight division, where it will be interesting to see who comes out on top. Zhang VS Li vs Joanna and Jedrzejczyk. In the co-main event, Zhang VS Li defeated Joanna and Jedrzejczyk by a split decision. In the fight, both fighters kept a high pace and used the combinations to land clean shots. For a moment it looked like Joanna and Jedrzejczyk had the upper hand, but Zhang VS Li would pick up the pace and threw a number of hard shots over the rounds. Both fighters took heavy shots, where they both were in a bloody mess. After putting on a show for the fans for all 5 rounds, the split decision was given to Zhang VS Li. Here are some reactions from the MMA community. Valentina Shevchenko said Joanna is the winner of this fight. Mike Perry said best fight I ever saw. Francis Ngannou said what a war between Joanna and the Chinese machine Zhang VS Li. Congrats to both of them. Michael Bisping said respect to both ladies. Kenny Florian said both ladies are tough as hell. I don't think anyone would be against a rematch. Jimmy Manuel said look at the size of Joanna's head. And Tito Ortiz said broken forehead. The fight that makes the most sense for Zhang VS Li is to face the winner of Rose Namajunas versus Jessica Andrade, who will be facing each other at UFC 249. Jessica Andrade has fit perfectly in the strawweight division since moving down from the bantamweight division, where she has shown a brute strength and has overpowered overpowered almost all the fighters she has faced so far. She would dethrone Rose Namajunas, slamming it on her head at UFC 237, winning the UFC Strawweight title, and would next lose in her first title defense against Zhang VS Li by TKO at UFC Final 157. I believe if she is able to defeat Rose Namajunas for the second time, this will line her up for another title shot. This is a superb rematch in the Strawweight division, where it will be interesting to see who comes out on top. Rose Namajunas has shown a lot of growth in a young mixed martial arts career, where she has been able to climb the rankings and win the UFC Strawweight title. She would dethrone long-reigning champion Joanna at UFC 217 and defeated her again at UFC 223 in her first title defense. She would next face Jessica Andrade at UFC 237, where she would get slammed on her head in the second round, losing her title. I believe with the win over Jessica Andrade, she will put herself back in line for another title shot. This is an incredible matchup in the Strawweight division, where it will be interesting to see who comes out on top. With Joanna losing to Zhang VS Li, the fight that makes the most sense for her is to face Marina Rodriguez if she is able to defeat Claudia Gadelha in her next fight at UFC Final 174. Marina Rodriguez has been on the rise since her first fight in the UFC. She has kept her undefeated record intact and has defeated some top names in the UFC. She picked up a unanimous decision victory over Jessica Aguilar at UFC on ESPN2 and also picked up a win over Tisha Torres at UFC Final 156. She is a dark horse in the Strawweight division and has demonstrated in her fights that she's a legit threat in the weight class. This is a very interesting fresh matchup in the weight class, where it will be interesting to see who comes out on top. Another option for Joanna Jedrzejczyk is to face Carla Esparza next if she is able to defeat Michelle Waterson in her next fight at UFC Final 172. Carla Esparza has been able to turn things around for herself, where she has regained her old confidence she once had. She is now riding a 2-fight winning streak and looks more confident than ever. She last defeated Alexa Grasso by a majority decision at UFC Final 159. It looks like she has gained her championship mentality back and is definitely ready for bigger fights. Joanna Jedrzejczyk already has a TKO victory over Carla Esparza at UFC 185. If Carla Esparza is able to get past Michelle Waterson, this matchup will make the most sense, where it will be interesting to see who comes out on top in this rematch. Beneil Dariush vs Drakkar Klose. For the rest of the main card, Beneil Dariush defeated Drakkar Klose by KO in the second round. The fight that makes the most sense for Beneil Dariush is to face Scott Holtzman next. Scott Holtzman has been on fire lately, where he has found his own and is seriously looking like a contender in his recent fights. He was able to pull off a TKO doctor stoppage victory over Dong Yong Ma and last defeated Jim Miller at UFC Final 167. This fight will definitely be fireworks, and it definitely makes the most sense. With Drakkar Klose coming off a loss to Beneil Dariush, the fight that makes the most sense for him is to face Jim Miller next. Jim Miller started his winning streak in 2019, where he pulled off a submission win over Jason Gonzalez and next finished Clay Guida by a guillotine choke in just 58 seconds of the first round. His winning streak would come to an end when he would lose to Scott Holtzman at UFC Final 167. Both fighters are coming off losses, and it will be an interesting scrap to see. Neil Magny vs Li Jingliang. Neil Magny defeated Li Jingliang by a unanimous decision. The fight that makes the most sense for Neil Magny is to face Jeff Neal next. Jeff Neal has looked like an absolute wrecking machine since entering the UFC's welterweight division. He has been able to rack up 5 impressive wins, with his last victory coming over Mike Perry at UFC 245. This is an interesting matchup between two established names, where it will be interesting to see who comes out on top. With Li Jingliang losing to Neil Magny, the fight that makes the most sense for him is to face Weili Alves next. Weili Alves has been up and down in his wins and losses as of late. After pulling off a guillotine choke win over Colby Covington at UFC 194, he has been able to start a proper run in the welterweight division. He last lost to Randy Brown by a triangle choke at UFC Final 164. Both fighters are coming off losses, where it will be interesting to see who comes out on top. Alex Oliveira vs Max Griffin. And Alex Oliveira defeated Max Griffin by a split decision. The fight that makes the most sense for Alex Oliveira is to face Nico Price next. Nico Price always brings an aggressive pace every time he fights inside the octagon. He is very wild and unorthodox in his fighting style. He last KO'd James Vick in the first round at UFC Final 161. Both fighters are slowly climbing up the rankings, where it will be interesting to see who comes out on top. With Max Griffin losing to Alex Oliveira, the fight that makes the most sense for him is to face Tim Means next. Tim Means made a comeback in late 2019 and submitted Thiago Alves in the first round at UFC on ESPN7. He would next face Daniel Rodriguez at UFC Final 167, where he would lose by a guillotine choke in the second round. Both fighters are coming off losses, where it will be interesting to see who comes out on top. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked this video, please make sure you hit that like button. And if you want to see more videos like this, please hit that subscribe button and the bell to be notified when we post videos. Special shout out to Mind for Combat. Please check out his channel. He does some awesome fight breakdowns. The link to his channel will be in the description below. So that was my video of the 10 fights to make after UFC 248, Adesanya vs Romero. Let me know your thoughts and comments in the section below. Also check out my last list video where I talk about the 10 most heartbreaking defeats in the UFC, and my other list video where I talk about Conor McGregor's opponent opponents before and after. 5 times Conor McGregor demolished his opponents. Please do let me know what improvements I can make, and also if you have any other ideas for lists in the comment section below. I appreciate your support as always, and I'll catch you guys next time.